and then buy the vehicle and then go to their actual place of residence. So the scheme is ideally for the entire nation, or you can say open to all segments of the society. Okay. So here we are to talk about use of electric vehicles for urban freight. So far we have understood that urban freight is largely handled by three-wheeler tempos, or you can say three-wheelers small LCVs or three-wheelers LCV, or four-wheelers LCV, light commercial vehicles. So how, whether it is possible to convert them into e-vehicles or not, what percentage of them can be converted, and if a sizable population of commercial vehicles are converted into e-vehicles, what will be the effect on the emissions, or how much reduction will take place. Okay. So whether other countries are able to do it successfully, first we have to see that. ये कोई concept ऐसा नहीं है कि we have decided it first. Already other countries are doing it. USA, China, Europe, they are already into use of vehicles for reduction of emission. Okay, and we are in a way following footsteps. Okay. So electric freight vehicles are being promoted worldwide across almost all the developed countries. Okay, so उनका भी यही system है. They incentivize, either they incentivize the end user, I mean the vehicle user, or they incentivize the industry itself. जो industry में freight operations ज़्यादा है. Okay, so there are schemes like freight electric vehicles in urban Europe. Similarly, we have this scheme called FAME, that is FAME 1, FAME Phase 1, FAME Phase 2. Subsidy. I don't remember, but it is for subsidies to e-vehicles. Then some schemes are for you can say some schemes are for industries. Okay, we know that like eBay is a very big big industry in supply chain, or Amazon is a big industry in supply chain, or Alibaba is a big industry in supply chain. So if you are able to incentivize the industry, that if you these are the industries that each of these companies are having 50,000 trucks, 1 lakh trucks in their places of operations. So if you incentivize such big industries, that if you reduce your emission norms by so many percentage, they will give you this much tax relaxation. Okay, or you will be exempted for this particular tax from some number of years like this. Okay, so that is also one of the method of incentivizing, or you can say promoting use of e-vehicles. Then electric three-wheelers in China, you can exempt them from road registration taxes. You can exempt them from toll plazas. You can exempt them from parking fees. Other countries, they are using different nomenclature and different names, but basically they are trying to incentivize the use of e-vehicles. You use e-vehicles and you will be getting some benefit. So European Association of Cities interested in electric vehicles. These are some bodies that are developed. So these are the steps that are taken. See, California prepares its sustainable freight action plans with a long term of 2050 vision, targets increase freight system efficiency by 25%. So zero emission vehicles आपने deploy कर लिए, या फिर lower rate पे बेचे, या ये methods they are using. Zero emission vehicles programs we are promoting in different cities, like deployment of over 1 lakh zero emission freight vehicles and associated equipments, maximizing the number of vehicles powered by renewable energy. So these are some statements from news articles or citations of papers, research papers. Okay, so like I have already mentioned the article from which I have taken the data. Okay. California proposed advanced clean truck regulation, which is a part of the industry's approach to accelerate large-scale transition to zero emission. You call it EV, you call it zero emission, you call it electric vehicle, it is all the same. Okay. So these are some of the initiatives that US has taken. China has taken some major initiatives. Key learnings: most delivery companies have collaborated with cities, where city provides a policy mechanism in which zero ZEV, that is zero emission vehicle credits are given to different companies, and the company invests in infrastructure to reduce their carbon emission. Right? if your emissions are reduced by so many percentage, what emissions you are generating earlier becomes a part of credit or credit point. आप उसको treat कर सकते हो, and those credit points you can sell it to some other company or trade it to some other company which is not having such programs. Okay, or for them it is not possible to reduce their emissions. Okay. So this is also a way to incentivize. Target-based approach is adopted by both the cities and companies. Different models like leasing, public-private partnership, we explore. Okay. In China, in 2006, government started promoting EVs. In India, we are talking about EVs in last 7 to 8 years.
5, 6.
Maximum 7 to 8 years. I don't think before 2015 anybody was interested into EVs in India. So at least they are a decade or two ahead than us in reducing the emissions, or you can say at least in efforts to reduce the emissions. Okay, government promoted the use of e-vehicles. I guess China is the number of vehicles that are being produced, the number of EVs that are being produced. China is the biggest player in producing electric vehicles, at least in passenger vehicles. So they are taking several steps, like again mandating certain industries. They have mandated. By default, you are supposed to use this vehicle only for in-house operations. Some ports, several ports will be having numerous in-house operations. Port का एक designated area which is entirely controlled by the port authority. Whichever, if it is a private port, then it is a private authority. Otherwise, the government authority. But within the port area itself, there are numerous operations taking place using freight vehicles, using other like trains, dumpers, other vehicles also, depending upon the cargo that is being handled. So certain ports are mandated to use e-vehicles or battery operated vehicles. So thereby reducing the emissions, overall emissions. Okay. Subsidies, the government provides subsidies to manufacturers, but these are reduced. Okay. For example, if you are a regular IC engine manufacturer, if you have started manufacturing e-vehicles also, then you might get some subsidies. Okay. For example, you might not have to deposit that pension fund, or your taxable income will be, some relaxation will be given to taxable income. Okay. Purchasers are given direct exemptions. Registration fee waiver, okay, also has helped in increasing the sale of. Okay. Then certain areas government can mandate. For example, government are using several vehicles for their own use. Okay. For example, waste trucks, waste carrying trucks, then postal trucks. Okay. Then there are several PSUs, public sector units are there. For example, petroleum companies are there. Okay. So they are using their petrol transport or fuel transporting vehicles. Okay. So ये सारे vehicles को आप EV में control तो at your choice कर सकते हो. You do not have to persuade anyone because the entire system is owned and operated by the government. So you start with such schemes. First, you mandate some industries that are directly into your control, and then gradually you expect people to participate or other sister industries to participate. Let's say, for example, when Indian Oil and Bharat Petroleum will convert all their vehicles to e-vehicles, then you can say Reliance or SR or some other companies to convert their vehicles. So that is how things can change. Okay. So every country is having some target. Today, by 2020 or by 2030, this many portion of our vehicles will be e-vehicles or will reduce our emissions by this many percentage. हर एक का अलग target है अपना, by the depending upon how early they have started. Okay. Comprehensive, more or less everyone has understood that the approach needs to be comprehensive. You cannot simply push that purchase EV or simply keep on incentivizing, because incentivize करने का भी एक limit है, beyond which you cannot incentivize, otherwise you will start incurring losses. अगर आपने registration free कर दिए e-vehicle के, वो आप एक limited period तक कर सकते हो, या इंडस्ट्री को e-vehicle मैन्युफैक्चर करने के लिए कोई टैक्स बेनिफिट दे लो, वो भी एक लिमिटेड पीरियड तक 5 साल तक 10 साल तक दे सकते हो. So unless and until it is a comprehensive approach by all the stakeholders involved, converting to EV is a bit difficult. Okay. That is a key learning for most of the countries. Like in UK, UK's approach is to incentivize the industry. And if major players are getting converted to EV, then a large portion of instead of you can say making it the incentives for general public, they give it to some specific companies which are big players and make a sudden big impact on the emissions. This is the urban freight scenario in India. Here you can see like Karnataka electric vehicle policy in the year 2017, then Delhi electric vehicle policy 2013. हर एक स्टेट ने अपना एक इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल पॉलिसी बनाते हैं बिकॉज हर एक स्टेट अपना व्हीकल रजिस्ट्रेशन सिस्टम फॉलो कर रहा है. हर एक स्टेट every state is charging differently for vehicle registration. Maybe the charges are almost between 5 to 8% in almost all the states. Okay. Some UTs are giving good exemptions in registration, but such UTs are very small in size, or you can say their number of vehicle registration is not as significant as compared to other big states. तो हर एक स्टेट ने अपना इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल पॉलिसी दिया है. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल कर्नाटका हैज गिवन दैट some will give you I'm not going into the detail of policy by each state, but if you are using electric vehicles, then charging stations will get this many credit points which you can use at toll plaza, or parking is provided to free to some public places, like if you go on post office or police station or public hospital, then you don't have to, if there is pay and park, you don't have to pay like this. Okay, the policy proposes transition of mini goods carrier in Bangalore to electric in a phased manner to achieve 100% electrification. But in all this policy, everything is proposed. Not necessarily everything goes by the plan that they have proposed. Okay. So phasing out of conventional vehicles. Other thing is कि आपने scrapping. You might have heard of scrapping policy. Recently, scrapping policy in Maharashtra was very much in news. In Gujarat also, I guess a few months ago, scrapping policy का बहुत आया news. That all the vehicles that are BS2, BS3 are not allowed. या फिर आपने उनका registration extension का जो system था वही बंद कर दिया. So by default, those vehicles are to be scrapped. Otherwise, if they are caught, they are out of registration, so they will be penalized heavily. Okay. So this is also one of the way of how you reduce the emission. Okay. So you are removing the older vehicles from the market. By default, the people are going to take new vehicles. So when they are going for buying new vehicles, you incentivize them for buying a EV. Okay. So many policies are in sync with one another. Okay. If one policy is not working, if pull method is not working, you push from some other direction. So people don't have choice but to go towards that policy. Okay. That is how the policies are framed. Okay. A purchase of 30,000. I don't know if it is currently working or not, but if you go for buying a two-wheeler, electric two-wheeler, they would say, I guess Ola and some Ather and some prominent players, they would say that the price is 1,45,000, wherein you get a subsidy of 45,000 or 50,000. So it comes out down to 95,000. So remaining 45,000, 50,000, whatever the subsidy is there the government is paying them. That is how it is shown. And a purchaser is, or you can say an end user is buying a electric vehicle because it is similar to that of, the pricing is similar to that of conventional IC. Okay. So in some cities it is still at draft stage. Okay. In some states, and some states don't have a policy. बहुत सारे states ऐसे भी हैं गुजरात में जिनके पास कोई EV policy नहीं है. In North East, in Himachal, in JNK, in UTs, they don't have a specific policy. Major states are having. Some states which are newly formed, their policy is yet to be approved from their legislative assemblies. So ये कुछ industry initiatives भी है. Okay. जैसे Amazon is planning to introduce 10,000 electric delivery vehicles by 2025. This delivery vehicles will be doing deliveries of Amazon parcels basically. Okay. Similarly, Flipkart is targeting transition to 100% electric vehicle for their delivery fleet. But the impact of such industries will be where the presence of such industries is huge. So it is obvious कि इनका Amazon, Flipkart या जो भी e-commerce players हैं, उनका EV vehicles पे transition पे shift होना उतना ही अफेक्ट करेगा जितना लोग ई व्हीकल को जितना लोग ये वेबसाइट्स को यूज करेंगे. Gradually what they will do, if they are not incentivized, what they will do, they'll increase their delivery charges. They'll stop making free deliveries. Okay. So then it depends whether the consumer retains or the consumer sticks to Amazon or Flipkart or not. If the consumer base starts reducing, they'll change their policy. They are a private player, they can change their policy anytime. Okay. Roofers is for delivery of FMCG major cities. So major industries like Big Basket, Blue Dart is a logistics company. So they have started introducing e-vehicles in their fleet so that the emission gets reduced. Now this is important. Comparison between ICE and EV. Okay. Because for the unorganized, ये अभी तक जितना what we have talked, गवर्नमेंट का क्या इनिशिएटिव है या बिग इंडस्ट्रीज का क्या इनिशिएटिव है, more or less organized है. यहाँ पे you can take a decision and you can make sure it is getting implemented. But at the unorganized level, wherein individual unit owner or say LCV owner is responsible for the emission generation, यहाँ पे comparison of vehicle will play the key role. Obviously, prices will play a key role. One time, see, an electric vehicle is normally having a life between 10 to 12 years. Commercial vehicle. So operator will replace the vehicle only after 12 years. So once if it has taken advantage of the policy, जो भी आपका incentive policy है, तो 10-12 years के लिए तो वो EV use करने वाला है, वो तो sure हो गया. But whether he will shift or not will also depend on this factors. Payload कितना ज़्यादा है. So if you compare a ICE, that is internal combustion engine 3-wheeler, and that of in 3-wheeler we have in India we have two technologies available, that is lithium ion and lead acid battery. Now lithium ion batteries are expensive. Okay, the batteries are expensive but the charging time is less. Then lead acid batteries are comparatively cheaper but the charging time is very high. Okay, so ये disadvantage है. If you see, it is 425 to 525 kg payload है. 3-wheeler टेम्पो जो हम लोग नॉर्मली अतुल डियाजियो वगैरह का देखते हैं, उसके कंपैरिजन में इट इज 320 to 600 kg for lead iron and lithium ion में 320 to 575 kg. But the catch here is they are not considering the weight of their own battery. Their own battery is also having some weight, which is continuously going to be with them. So that again reduces the payload, actual payload. Okay. Additionally, charging time is one of the biggest drawback. It takes 6 to 8 hours for this lead acid battery to charge. So इनका range कितना है, ये बहुत ज़्यादा important. Bigger the battery, see for having longer range, your battery needs to be bigger. If your battery is bigger, it is eating up your payload. Okay. So you have a restriction to that. So battery capacity between 4.8 to 5.768 kilowatt. Similarly for so in case of 3-wheelers तो फिर भी थोड़ा बहुत 8 to 10% transition या switching possible है by 2030. It is expected, many research says 2030 तक 8 से 10% switch हो जाएगी, maximum 14% तक switch हो जाएगी. But 4-wheelers के switch होने के chances बहुत कम, because 4-wheelers में बहुत ज़्यादा डिफरेंस आ जाता है. रेंज भी कम है, रेंज में पेलोड में प्राइसिंग में. सो और प्रॉब्लम क्या है, 65 to 70% ऑफ अर्बन फ्रेट इज हैंडल्ड बाय 4-wheelers. वाई? क्योंकि ऑब्वियस है पेलोड ज़्यादा लेते हैं, थोड़े ज़्यादा डिस्टेंसेस जा सकते हैं, आउटस्कर्ट्स तक जाना, सिटी के बाहर तक जाना, 50, 60, 70 किलोमीटर्स के रेंज तक चले जाना. 4-wheelers जो रहते हैं टाटा एस, महिंद्रा पिकअप, बोलेरो, ये सारे व्हीकल्स के लिए फिर भी डूएबल है, इजी है. इसलिए ये यू कैन से दैट ट्रांजिशन टू एक्चुअली हैपन से पहले ये जो टेक्नोलॉजिकल गैप है उसको फिल करना पड़ेगा. द e-vehicles for freight transport should be at par with the e-vehicles that are ICE, that is internal combustion. Unless and until this happens, you cannot expect it to happen on fuel. तो ये सबसे बड़ा है. It is not as simple as passenger transport. Let's say if you are buying a car, it is worth 10 lakh rupees and you are buying the EV which is worth 12 lakh rupees. You just have to make a choice whether I want to go for petrol car or a diesel car or इलेक्ट्रिक कार. इतना सिंपल नहीं है ये चॉइस मेकिंग, क्योंकि इनके जो यूजर्स हैं उनके अपने लिमिटेशंस हैं, चार्जिंग लिमिटेशंस. दे आर नॉट हैविंग एनी पार्किंग स्लॉट फिक्स. इनका जो ऑपरेशनल एरिया है वहाँ पे इनका कोई पार्किंग स्लॉट फिक्स थोड़ी है जहाँ पे वो चार्ज करेंगे अपने व्हीकल. सो दैट इज देयर रिस्ट्रिक्शन. वेयर दे आर स्टेइंग वहाँ पे भी उनका पोजीशन और प्लेस ऑफ रेसिडेंस अलग है, उनका प्लेस ऑफ पार्किंग अलग है. नॉर्मली उनका जो प्लेस ऑफ पार्किंग है वो कोई अनऑथराइज्ड लैंड है, वहाँ पे चार्जिंग का कोई फैसिलिटी नहीं है. दिस आर द रियल प्रॉब्लम्स दैट दे आर फेसिंग. नाइट टाइम के 8 आवर्स में वो व्हीकल को चार्ज हो सकते हैं, बट क्या उनके पास ऐसी कोई जगह है जहाँ पे वो नाइट टाइम पे व्हीकल को रख सकते हैं सेफली? ये फंडामेंटल प्रॉब्लम्स है थ्री व्हीलर ओनर्स के साथ. ओके, एंड प्राइसेस स्टिल देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ प्राइसिंग डिफरेंस बिटवीन, इवन आफ्टर कंसीडरिंग द subsidies available, EVs are more expensive as compared to conventional IC commercial vehicles. So if the vehicles are continued, or you can say if the electric vehicles का जो हम एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं उतना ग्रोथ नहीं होगा, परचेजेस नहीं होंगे, so this is the expected increase in the three wheelers and four wheelers. As I said, 6.5%, approximately 6.5% for three wheelers and 9% for four wheelers. Year on year growth. Okay, year on year growth इतना expect कर सकते हो आप for commercial vehicles, and this is the 10 kilometers that they will be traveling. Okay, 10 kilometer is loaded travel. Loaded travel is measured in 10 kilometers. Okay, so accordingly there is this much. This much is the emission that gets reduced. Okay, for three wheelers it is supposed to be reduced by 8 to 10% by 2030. Assuming that the EV, the percentage of three wheeler commercial vehicle increases from 15% to 45%. Okay, similarly for four wheeler it increases from 5% to 17%. Government itself is not very optimistic about four wheelers. They know that they are technologically lacking for four wheelers so far. And for three wheelers also, many of them are switching to CNG vehicles. So emissions are otherwise also getting reduced. Even if they are not switching to EVs, the emissions are, see here, these are two different aspects. आपको purposely EV पे switch कराना है या आपका focus सिर्फ emission control है? Because if your purpose is only emission control, CNG will solve your problem 50-60%. So to summarize, it is estimated that small commercial vehicles, three wheelers, is likely to grow by 9% between 2021 to 2031, and percentage of four wheeler LCV is expected to be 76% of the total stock of LCVs. Okay. Majority of LCVs are run on diesel followed by CNG or petrol. Okay, but this three wheelers are switching, but the problems are four wheeler. This is the share of LCVs having BS4 is very less. But जो conventional IC engines है उसमें भी latest emission norms वाले नहीं है, पुराने हैं बहुत सारे. So you need to make your scrapping policies more strict. Okay, you have to go for forcible scrapping and strictly re-registration of diesel vehicles पे reduction करना पड़ेगा. EVs are increasingly being introduced for last mile delivery. लास्ट माइल डिलीवरी के लिए फिर भी कन्वीनियंट है, 60-70 किलोमीटर्स का रेंज है, 2 किलोमीटर्स 3 किलोमीटर्स 5 किलोमीटर्स का जिसका ट्रिप लेंथ है वहाँ पे फिजिबल. Okay, 14% reduction of CO2 can be attained if small commercial vehicles are converted to EV. I mean the percentage of penetration increases from 15 to 45 जो यहाँ पे बताया है. So there are limited alternatives to four wheelers in Indian market. Price range of alternative vehicles is, मतलब अगर आप ICE का टॉप मॉडल लोगे ना उसके कंपैरिजन में आपको EV का बेस मॉडल मिलेगा. प्रॉब्लम ये है, and top model is having many advanced features. So people will normally go for, people are still not preferring EVs for commercial vehicles. Okay, payload capacity कम है, charging का अपना restriction है. Okay, payload capacity and maximum speed are not at par with IC vehicles. The range offered by long charging is comparable with average speed distance, but may offer some limitation. Now this range, ये जो range का जो concept है ना, ये बहुत ज़्यादा height है, क्योंकि you cannot define the range. You are not going to stop your vehicle the moment it is in congestion. It is continuously using your battery, and you cannot guarantee that if it is 70 kilometers range, it will go for 70 kilometers. Congestion is playing a big role. Okay, so ये major challenge है. Three-wheelers में it is somewhat good. The scenario is somewhat same. In case of three-wheelers, options available are both with lead as I explained earlier. Price range भी बहुत comparable है competitive market में. Okay. Speed restriction and payload restriction is there, but because the trip length is very less and the three-wheeler tempos बहुत ज़्यादा small deliveries के लिए use होता है basically. तो ये जो payload में reduction है ना, उससे उनको इतना ज़्यादा affect नहीं होगा, because otherwise also they are not utilizing their entire payload. अगर उनका 600 kg का या 700 kg का payload है, फिर भी वो 300 kg पे ही चल रहा है वैसे, तो उनको payload से इतना ज़्यादा दिक्कत नहीं है. रेंज का भी इसलिए इतना दिक्कत नहीं है क्योंकि उनकी ट्रिप लेंथ 3 किलोमीटर, 5 किलोमीटर, 7 किलोमीटर है. Overall, there is a high potential for replacement of conventional three-wheelers to electric three-wheelers. However, all present and upcoming government policies mentioned in the packet. So, we need to work in the direction of more robust technology for four-wheeler commercial vehicles. For three-wheeler commercial vehicles, some good transition can be expected. That is what I believe. So these are some of the references that I have used for making this presentation and for the things that we have discussed today. Thank you for your time.
अजय पटेल
Thank you so much, sir, for the very knowledgeable session. Now, we would like to call Ajay sir on the dais to facilitate the sir. So today's session is over now. We can depart, and tomorrow at 9:30, same place, we'll have breakfast in the